All right, I think we're back on here now. If you get back on our live stream, I think you'll see us. I'm not sure. I have no idea why that went out. It went out in the middle of the broadcast. Let's see what happens. Okay, people are starting to come back in now. It's a little pixelated. Or something's going on wrong here, but stay with us. I got a red face here. I don't know if that shows up on there, but let's see what happens. Can you hear us on there now, Stefan?
It is working.
Is it working? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well,
Yes, it is.
just stay with us. It's we'll stay on this. Let me just check the settings here, see if I can change some settings. Why that happened, I don't know. I mean, if the internet goes out for 1 second, that can create monumental issues. It's not allowing me to. It's not allowing me to change my. I just want to make sure you can hear me good. Let me make sure that.
Hey, good.
Yeah.
I hear you just fine.
All right.
I can hear you. I can hear you good on YouTube. It's just that they have to leave the page that they were on and go to another one.
Okay.
It seems like you set up another like.
I had to do it. Yep. So let's just give people
Okay.
a. Let's give people a.
I'll let people know in the old chat group to bounce to the new one.
Yeah. So that's good. Thank you. Tell them that. We'll be right back. Yeah. Why that happened, I have no idea. Yep. All right. All right. They're coming in now. So just give us a second. All right, folks, just hang in here with us, and we'll be right back on our Six Screens Telenetwork. We had a little technical issue here, but let's let the audience get back in, give them a few minutes to do so, and we'll start once again. This is part 2. I had to shut everything down, then start all over again, and that's what created somewhat of an issue. For some reason, the internet or something went out, and that's what caused the issue here tonight. So let's just wait for some people to come in. They're coming in now, and we're going to get into some more news here. I want to talk about Norway, so just hang in here with us. I'm not able to get on the camera I want to get on, but this camera's working all right, and also the audio is working good as well. So just stay here with us, and we'll get back to our JW World News. And thank you for coming in, everyone. Boy, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you really seriously. This is technologically real. Go ahead. No, technologically, it's a complex thing here, folks. I'm trying to hook the telephone line up. At the same time, I'm trying to get the video hooked up. We're on a number of platforms on the internet, and when you're trying to do things and talk at the same time, it does get a little more difficult than you would normally think. But anyways, let's stay with what we got here right now. We do have some listeners in, not as many as we had before, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll get into our.
So can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is the prior video lost now?
No, I think it'll be put up on YouTube. I think it'll be put up on YouTube. I don't think it's completely gone. I think it will be uploaded to YouTube, Jackery. Yep. Yeah, it's very, when you've got what you have here. I work with a platform called StreamYard, and it's $100 a month is what it costs. I'm not trying to complain about it, but they have made some changes as of late, and it's really getting to me. It's really, really getting to me. They make changes without telling you, and now all of a sudden I'm doing the program here tonight, and bingo, off it goes. I can't get my regular camera on that I normally use. So I don't know if it's problems on their end or what, but sometimes they have to upgrade this stuff, and they might do it on the weekends, and that kind of messes me up too when they do that, because if we lose contact for just a second, the whole thing can go down. So we are getting people back on with us right now. Let's just give it a few more minutes, and then we'll get into the Norway. I know that's the big elephant in the room. We'll get into the Norway discussion. I want to hear what all of you folks think about Norway. I know a lot of people are disappointed this week, but let's just give it some time here and see if we can't get the people back in with us. You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork. We normally don't have this issue. It could be an issue with my computer. I did have a computer go out on me today, while I was rehearsing for the news. And then I had to grab another computer I had, but I had it all set up right. And we seem to have had some difficulties with that. But we are getting people in right now. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, Zach.
Barry, I did. It's Maverick here. I did say in the chat on the last stream that for everyone to refresh their live stream so that the few that were there were hanging around on the old stream. So I hope that they understood what I tried to say. Tell them that one's finished now. To the refresh and look for the live stream on your YouTube channel. Hopefully that will work.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it is working, Maverick. Yeah, we're going to get more and more people coming in right now. So we'll give them a little time to do that. And I wanted to talk about Norway. That's what I wanted to talk about. So let's give it just a couple of minutes and we'll get into Norway. But anyways, it's really refreshing to see so many people coming into the six screens and wanting to comment and give their views on things. I think it's amazing that that's all happening. And if you're on a telephone line, just bear with us, and we're going to get into the Norway story here momentarily. I mean, that has been the big elephant in the room this week. A lot of Jehovah's Witnesses are somewhat discouraged, somewhat disappointed, but we're going to get into that. I wanted to get your thoughts on it as well. So we will go to that just momentarily here, but we do have more and more coming in. So I just want to make sure the audience can pick up because they wanted to hear that. They were coming into the six screens tonight to hear what was going on in Norway. Friends, I have to tell you, the Watchtower organization is making monumental changes. They are doing things that for many in the organization are saying, I've had enough. I no longer want to go along with all of this. But then there are, of course, some that are saying, no, this is wonderful, as we were just talking about before we got shut off. Yeah, I've got a bigger view of me, as you can see. I'm on a different camera. The other one will not let me in. Let me just double check once again. For some reason, our camera disconnected. Let me just check the camera settings again. Now the camera settings will not come up. Now that is totally, totally weird to me, but it's okay. At least you can see me here, right? So that's a good thing. All right, so I think we can probably talk a little bit about Norway. And we do have the telephone number there. We have a lot of people coming in on the telephone line. I think what they did is they they said, wow, I can't listen on YouTube or Facebook, so I'll come on the line. So let's start talking about Norway a little bit. Let me just give me a second here so we can get the information I need. I can scroll down. Did someone want to make a comment before we get going? All right, let me just get the right information.
But I think you did really good, Rick, fixing that in just a short moment. It was fixed already. You did really good, and we're so proud of you. And I understand it's difficult getting all the technology to work, especially when YouTube changes things. And
oh yeah,
I just wanted to say I listened to your show with interest, and thank you very much. And I'm so happy that we're on again. You're really doing good. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Grace. No, I'm not complaining, like I say, but you know, when you're doing live streaming, I mean, this even happens on the major networks. Sometimes they're shut right down. I was watching NBC not too long ago. They were off for an hour. But the hardest thing is here finding exactly what the problem is. That's why, you know, an engineer would be good, but we're not big enough for that yet. But an engineer would be good to figure this out and say, okay, Rick, this is exactly what happens. But when you're the moderator and the host and trying to figure this out at the same time, it does get a little bit itchy around the edges. Let's go with that. Well, we'll be bringing up. We get more and more people coming in right now. Let's give it a little more time because I really want to get the message out about Norway. There's some good things that I want to share with the people. So let's just give it a few more minutes. More and more people are coming in. They're realizing that something went wrong and they're switching over. Many people coming on our radio telephone network. So yeah, let's get up to about 100 people if we can. We're up over 200 before. Or if we can get 100 in here now, that'll be good. All right. So let's take a look. Let's see what's going on here in Norway. Let me get the right news feed up. Yeah. All right. I just want one other thing before we get into Norway. I wanted to bring up here tonight because it's of real interest. Is I've got information that's been coming into the 6 screens that really, really is phenomenal. And I got, we've talked about marriage here a lot on the 6 screens and different problems in the witness marriages. But I wanted to bring up tonight that they are experiencing monumental issues, not only as sisters. In fact, the information that came to me today had to deal with sisters over 25. If a Jehovah's Witness sister did not find a brother that was, by the time she was 25, the chances are she would have a more difficult time doing that. And, is that a Watchtower problem or what? But then I also find out that also Jehovah's Witness males, a lot of them are 40 years old and don't have a bride. They don't have a mate. So there's a real issue, and I'm wondering what is creating that issue. Just to go along, let's start with the male. Jehovah's Witnesses have really put a lot of pressure on young men to make them achieve. And really, their policies on women have not really moved Jehovah's Witness men to wanting to connect with women. I mean, that's a Watchtower problem right there, right? So a lot of these Watchtower men, they're not connecting with women. So they're landing up 40, 50 years old and no mate, no bride, no marriage. And the women, when they're over 25, well, the field has really been cut down. And then if you got these men that aren't really interested in women because of the policies and dictates of the Watchtower, so you get a double whammy. So that's something to consider. But I wanted to bring that up tonight. And maybe you're in a congregation where that happened. And you're really seeing more and more Jehovah's Witnesses single. Now, Judge Rutherford might be happy over that. Of course, he wrote the book on children. In fact, he even mentioned in the children book, not to get married before Armageddon. He mentioned in that book, written in 1942, I believe it was, that why would you want to get mixed up? This is his exact words. I know they were talking about Rutherford earlier tonight on Anne Marie's program, but Rutherford's exact words is, why would you want to get hooked up with a hank of hair and a bag of bones? That's what Rutherford thought of women. So, I mean, that's pretty disgusting, isn't it? So maybe that feeling is kind of resonating itself once again in the Watchtower. Well, anyways, okay, so we got the 100 people. We got them coming back in with us now, and I'm going to continue on. The picture here might be a little pixelated. You can see some red on my forehead, but I don't care really what I look at. I'm not trying to win a beauty contest here. I just want to report the news. So let's go on. Let's talk about some other things. Let's talk about Norway. Let's talk about Norway and what is going on with Norway. Let me just describe to you. Before we go on, does someone want to say something about marriages? Pixie, you want to say something? All right, let's see what we got here. All right.
Hey, Rick, this is Donald here. I'm wondering if the marriage thing has to do with the fact that the reason why sisters can't find brothers is because there's not enough brothers that are in the upper positions in the congregation. Because isn't this whole thing kind of position based? Like, well, you're a ministerial servant or you're an elder, so they won't marry anybody less than that. Is that true?
Well, it is true that there's a lot of sisters that, they're only going to marry a spiritual minded brother. And if the person isn't spiritually minded, I'm going to move on. And then they never find anyone, Donald. So they remain single,
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a crazy world we're living in. Yes. All right. So let's take a look now. Let's,
Rick,
yes, go ahead, Zach.
question.
Yeah.
On that question, it's bringing something back to mind. They were giving sisters advice back in the 90s, I think it was. And they said, if there's a brother who's interested in you, then if he's not a ministerial servant or an elder, by now. Why not? And so this was the mindset that they were suggesting the sisters would have, that if the brother's not an elder or a ministerial servant, kind of like, what's wrong?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Zach. That's exactly right. And if you're gonna push that message, what do you think happens? People are gonna land up single, right?
Right.
Good, thank you, Zach. All right.
Or they'll find someone to marry who's not a witness.
Well, that's another thing that's going on right now. In fact, this man wrote me today. He gave me some information today that he's 40 years old. He can't find a capable sister. He's not happy with at least the sisters in his neighborhood. So he's even thinking, well, he'll just wait till Armageddon. But I mean, I don't know. What's that? Well, we can hold on one second. We can only listen to one person at a time. So let's go with 719. What do you have to say? 719. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that in my family, there's several that have not gotten married, and the ones that did never had no children. And I know it's all because of the religion, because my brother, it's most of his kids, and he had 7 kids. So it's definitely from the Watchtower. But there was something else I wanted to say, Rick, before. I don't know if this is off key, but I really do think the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses need to make a change. And that is in not just fighting the Watchtower as a religion. They are incorporated many times, and I have said for some time now that we need to be fighting them as a company, because they hide behind the religion. It's hard to nail them down. But as a company, as a business, and that's what they are a worldwide business. And I don't know why we don't not only strike them as being religion, but also as business, big business. But that's just my thought.
Well, it's a good thought. I mean, we do talk about them as being a business. Well, thank you everyone for coming back in with us. We did have some technical issues earlier. You're looking at me right now on YouTube and Facebook. It might be a little pixelated. I think things are going good. You can see things are a little discombobulated. It's not it's a little off the video. But the thing is, somehow, some way, my camera was disconnected. My microphone was disconnected. So I had to hustle around, put a few things together. So we are back on live, but thank you for being understanding, and thank you for your patience. These things happen. Okay, let's, I think we can move on. I want to talk about the biggest problem this week. Man, I'm telling you, so many people have called me. Rick, are you okay? Are you distraught? Are you unhappy? And I'd say, about what? And then they brought up the fact that of Norway. Friends, I've been doing this program for 20 years. And this is really the saddest day for so many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. And you say, well, why is it sad? Well, why are so many Jehovah's Witnesses sad? Well, it has to do with Norway. And did you understand, or did you read the headlines this week about Jehovah's Witnesses? The Watchtower organization won. They won their latest appeal, which means they will be reinstated as a religion in Norway and be paid millions of dollars by the government. Isn't that sickening? That is really, really sickening. And I have to tell you that I'm very unhappy over that. So just to give you a little understanding of it all, for those listening in, I think most people understand it, that Jehovah's Witnesses, for going on 3 years, have been in trouble in Norway. And the reason why they were in trouble in Norway is because of their shunning, because Jehovah's Witnesses shun people, and especially young people, is what the Norwegian government was concerned about. And the Norwegian government, you know the story, they told the Jehovah's Witness organization that they could no longer be a recognized religion in Norway because of their shunning problems and policies. So the Watchtower lost $1.25 million a year from the Norwegian government because of shunning. And the Jehovah's Witnesses kept appealing it. And finally, this week it came down that the Jehovah's Witnesses, they won. I hate to say it. It bothers me to say it. But the Jehovah's Witnesses won their latest appeal, which means they will be reinstated as a religion in Norway. And as I said earlier, will be paid millions of dollars by the government. Does that turn your stomach? It turns my stomach. It really, really does. It's very sad. It's very sad. Many of you out there tonight are displeased, really displeased. Many are feeling the adverse effects of all of this. Many of our hopes have been busted, but I'm going to give you hope. I'm not going to leave you sad and depressed here tonight. There's so many that have written me. They've been, Rick, we've been beaten. We've been defeated. We're discouraged. We're frustrated. Well, I acknowledge that. And, I'm even a little disappointed myself. I was thinking Norway could really come through for us and create monumental success. But I'm thinking there's going to be some good things. I'm trying to look at the positive side of things. I'm thinking there's going to be some good things that come out of this in just a short while. Now, I'm going to tell you the reason why Norway changed their course. Didn't we all think that the witnesses were going to lose? We all thought that. But Norway has changed their course, and because of just a few minor things. The reason why Norway is now allowing the witnesses back in Norway, recognizing them as a religion, is because, in short, I'm just going to give you the short answer here. Why Norway is cozying up now to witnesses and saying, "Fine, you won the appeal." In short, is because the Jehovah. Now, listen to this. This is disgusting. So Norway feels that the Watchtower changing their policy and now allowing at least a short greeting to a disfellowship person, but remember now only in the Kingdom Hall. So Norway thinks, well, that's okay. That's really not totally bad shunning. And also, Norway is also understanding that Jehovah's Witnesses, according to their lies and their testimony in the court, the Jehovah's Witnesses now say a disfellowship person can be invited to the meetings. Now, you couldn't do that before, but Jehovah's Witnesses now can call up a disfellowship person and say, come to our meetings. So Norway thinks that's wonderful. So that's not total shunning. And the other thing that Norway liked, and the Watchtower changed it because of their inquiry and because of their investigation by Norway. Watchtower says that parents can now discipline their teen children that are baptized. They can discipline them instead of a judicial committee. So, see, Norway bought all these lies. This is all crazy stuff. And also, they changed the word, Watchtower did, from disfellowship to removed. And Norway bought it. What in goodness name's sake is the matter with Norway? I mean, I'm not going to beat them up entirely here tonight, but I mean, they couldn't see through all of this. So Norway, they're not buying the fact that they originally thought that Watchtower created psychological violence by shunning people. Norway is not buying that now because of Watchtower changing their policies on this. But really, did they change it in the truest sense? But people around the world, I'm telling you right now, people around the world are taking notice of this. In fact, when you shun someone, especially family members, especially your son, your daughter, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, this is one of the most drastic practices in the world, to shun someone. And the world has listened to this case in Norway, and it's now a matter of national conversation. People are aware of it, and they were publicly questioned. The Watchtower was publicly questioned over shunning. Now, maybe Norway is willing to accept the changes the Watchtower has made, but a lot of people are now aware of the fact that Jehovah's Witnesses, like the Amish, they shun people, and this is something that a lot of people never realize. So the Watchtower is getting a very tarnished image over this, and so now when people around the world, when they see Jehovah's Witnesses in the neighborhood, when they see them at the street corners with their carts, regardless of what that verdict was in Norway, it doesn't look good for the witnesses. It really does not look good for the witnesses. The trial in Norway, in order to cover this all up, was nothing but Watchtower lies. I mean, the real reason why Watchtower, Jehovah's Witnesses are desperate and pleading to Norway, it's all about money. They were losing $1.25 million a year, and they put every effort forward to try to win this case. Now, we've all talked on here before about war strategy. We know that's a policy in the Watchtower that allows them to lie, and they will lie, lie, lie. And the Watchtower will keep doing this. They will keep doing it to move forward. If it takes a lie, do it. But I have to tell you something, friends. We have won in many degrees here. I have to say it. And I'm going to emphasize it. So I don't want you to be totally distraught tonight because the Watchtower won the Norwegian court case. Some good things have come out of this. And I'm just thinking, and maybe you folks are thinking as well, we know the Watchtower has changed a lot of their position on things. Now, one thought that came into my mind is, will the Watchtower go back to not greeting the disfellowshipped now that this has happened? I don't think so. I think they'll leave it the same. But, the Watchtower in the last couple of years, because of the Norwegian problem they've had, they more or less said that we're going to stop greeting. They said that we're going to start greeting. We're going to stop. I'm going to mute some people here. We got people on here. I'm trying to talk. I got people that are not mute. Let me mute some people here, okay? We have to, friend. You have to mute your phone for me, okay? I'm trying to talk. We got people. Hold on 1 second. Okay, because in the background noise. You want to do a radio broadcast like this? You're trying to talk, and I got, So just when I say open up the lines, we'll open up the lines. You hit *6. When we're done, you hit *6. When you're done talking, *6. It mutes you. It makes my job 1,000 times easier. Please work with me with that. Geez, make it easy for me. Not complaining, just explaining. So, what good came out of this? What good came out of this is, I'm thinking they're not going to go back to not greeting a disfellowship person at the meeting. I'm thinking what's good is now, if you're a disfellowship person, you're able to go to the meeting and people will talk to you. And I don't think they're going to go back to calling it disfellowshipped. The Norwegian court system here has decided that, they changed the word. They're just removing. I mean, I don't see, it's a matter of semantics here. I don't see much difference. But the Norwegian government bought this. But we know they're no longer going to call disfellowship. They're just going to call it removed. And then there were other changes too. as a result of them losing in Norway. Yeah, there's some other changes. I'm just thinking, what a bunch of liars. What a bunch of liars the Watchtower is. And, I really thought even a couple of weeks ago before this verdict came out, even last week, I'm thinking, wow, we're looking forward to the verdict. But what I'm really even thinking here is the Watchtower really is such a liar. Their organization, they lie so much, and it's creating such an issue here that the Norwegian government even believed it. So I'm thinking, who really is behind all these lies? Is it the elders? Is it the lawyers of the Watchtower? No, it's the governing body. The governing body is the major problem in the Watchtower. They are like the mafia. They're just like the mafia. But I'm not trying to disrespect the mafia here by equating them to the Watchtower. The mafia isn't even that bad. But the governing body, I'm just going to mention this because it's a fact. The governing body controls everything, everybody, everything under their wing, so to speak. The governing body, they sit at the helm. They lead the entire organization and make them row like in a rowboat. They make them row a lie. And it's a lie that they want all of their henchmen to follow. They control everything from the various headquarters all over the world. And they send out directives and they send out guidance to the circuit overseers, the elders, and all these congregations, and everyone must follow it to the letter. That's why even those that's well rehearsed, this appeal the Watchtower had in Norway is nothing but a well rehearsed arrangement. They control the governing body that has controlled everything in that trial. And they do this with their lawsuits all around the world. The governing body directs and decides which way the elders, the lawyers, and the witnesses will roll their boat, so to speak, to win a case. They will do anything, even resorting to theocratic warfare, as we said. Now, how far will they go? Now, that's a question I had. If they're willing to lie to a government like this, how far will the Watchtower actually go and to continue to lie? The organization has been caught in many nefarious and corrupt activities, and they still will use their warfare. They will lie to get out of it. So,
Hello.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yep. Go ahead, Fran.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Let's go with Fran. Let's go with Fran first. Then I think is that Dick? I'm not sure. Let's go with Fran first.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Hi. Yeah, this is Fran. So we were listening to when they were saying all the lies, and one of the lies is that normal family relations you can have normal family relations, just not spiritual. So we texted our children, not that they read it or anything, but we said, good news. Norway said we can have normal family relations, just not spiritual. So I think what they said, I think we could go with it and really make a case out of it and say, hey, this is great. And, they can eat their words.
Well, Fran, no, that's a good thing that can come out of it, right?
Right. You've got to think positive. There's positive things that are going to happen.
Well, I like that. That's exactly right. I mean, the witnesses, they're gleeing. They're jumping for joy. They think this is wonderful. It's going to be all over jw.org. We won that case. But, that should set policy in motion, like you just said. Okay, fine.
I think so.
So let's hope that happens. Fran,
Okay,
you're a wonderful woman. Don't you ever change, Fran. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Rick. Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Go ahead.
Did I jump? Oh, I'm sorry. Dick Borgie was. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Zach. Just a quick thought. You know, we know how corrupt the Watchtower is, and money is everything. We know that. And if you follow politics in this country, you know you have a very corrupt government, especially on the Democratic side. Look what they did to Trump. My point is, it wouldn't surprise me a bit if the Watchtower got a hold of some of the judges or whatever and said, listen, let me contribute 100,000 for your next campaign. They would buy off politicians. They've done it in the past. We've caught them at it, and they're probably doing it again in Norway. Thanks, Rick.
Well, Dick, I'm glad you said that, because I got news for you. That is exactly, the big boys all work together. And I can't tell you for sure that Norway made the decision based on money. But, it's really discouraging. It really is to see the corruption that we are seeing in the world. And when something is so blatantly obvious, and you know what, really, 2 weeks ago, I was so thrilled. And I'm saying, folks, it's only a matter of time. Look at this. We got so many countries coming against the Watchtower. We got Norway, Denmark, we got Slovakia, we got the Czech Republic, we got Belgium, we got Denmark, we got Japan, we got all these countries coming against the Watchtower. And a lot of it was resting on Norway. And all of a sudden, someone put a pin in our balloon, so to speak. And it's very disappointing. But the way that I'm glad that Fran came on, the Watchtower, they mentioned to a government what their changes are. And they better not change it. They better not change it. I don't know if Norway has watchdogs to make sure they don't. But I'm just saying that this policy is going to have to stay in effect. So we are seeing some changes that might be a little better on shunning. But boy, it's really, really disappointing, Dick. And I agree with you 100%. I can only think when something is so blatantly obvious, the only thing that pops in my mind is corruption. Is somebody being paid off? But, I'm not going to go down that road totally, but I certainly have thought about it. Thank you, Dick. All right.
Rick, the thing is, this is Donald from Texas. Norway is not the final. Norway is really not the final authority here. Even though they won the case, the real test is how are they going to win against God Almighty? Because people are leaving the Watchtower in droves. The organization is still falling apart. It still has its terrible rules. So even though they won in Norway, that's just Norway. What about the rest of the planet? What about the rest of the people that know what they're up to and what they're capable of doing? Already, people know how bad they are. So this theocratic warfare that they do, what don't make sense about that is how can they say they can lie for a God that doesn't lie? If God doesn't lie, why can't they lie?
Well, you can't make sense out of nonsense, Donald. That's that's the only thing I can. I'm sitting here. I try to come up with choice adjectives. We all try to do the best we can to explain this organization. Man, it's so difficult to do so. Well, thank you, Donald. Thank you very much for weighing in.
Rick?
Yes, Zach. Yep.
Yeah, I wanted to say much earlier that if they won this appeal, then a monster has been created. There will be Jehovah's Spirit is protecting them, and it'll be all that. But about this, the discussing what happened in Norway, we're talking in English about changes in English. A question I would have is, because I don't know, Norway speaks Norwegian, right? Is the trial conducted in English or Norwegian? And then in that case, there might be things that we don't even see.
Yeah, I believe it was, in Norwegian. All the stuff I was reading was in Norwegian, and then I had to kind of translate it in Google over to English. But yeah, so yeah.
Just that word changing in English from disfellowshipping to removed. I know in French they call disfellowshipping exclude, which is simply past tense for excluded. So they say so and so has been excluded, basically.
Yeah, well,
there might be crazy things in the Norwegian language. You know what I'm saying?
well, no, sometimes. I mean, I see what you're saying, Zach. I can see what you're saying. It could be, but you know, I'm going to throw this word out: semantics. You know, sometimes people will play with words. Now, the Watchtower supposedly convinced the Norwegian government that, you know, we're not going to call it disfellowshipping, we're going to call it removed. But I mean, let me ask you, Zach, is that the same? I mean, removed disfellowship. Do you see anything that's different there?
Well, to me, they both have the same effect. You know, you can say removed, but it's like a rose by any other name is still a rose. You can call it removed instead of disfellowshipping, but if the effect is the same, there's no difference.
Yeah, so they were able to convince the Norwegian government. Now, 2 weeks ago on this program, I was elated because one of the lawyers in Norway, brought up against the Jehovah's Witnesses that they removed a video that came out a few years back. I believe it was in 2017, 2018. And it was a young Jehovah's Witness girl that committed immorality, and her family kicked her out of the house, and her family shunned her. And even the poor girl was shown on a Watchtower video that she tried to call her mother, and the mother's cell phone rang, and the mother wouldn't answer the phone. Well, that is shunning badly. That really was something that's really something that Norway did not like about the witnesses. But lo and behold, they took it down. It's not on jw.org. So that lawyer for the Norwegian government brought that up and even said it. They took this video down, but that wasn't convincing enough. I thought that would have rested the case. I figured case closed, it's over. But geez, I don't know if the Norwegian government. I mean, I'm going to go along with Dick Borgie here. It almost as though somebody's being paid off, because that would have been. I'll tell you what, that would have been my resting case. Where do you go from there? But now all of a sudden, the Watchtower is able to be reinstated on the fact that they changed the word from disfellowship to removed. That you could also now greet a disfellowship one in the Kingdom Hall. The Norwegian bought this. This is not sensible.
But was that the argument they used for their case, that they changed the word from disfellowshipping to removed?
Yeah, that was one of them. Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
There was three things. There was three things that the Norwegian government said that they reversed this, and that was one of them. The word disfellowship was now removed. The idea that you could now speak with a disfellowship one in the Kingdom Hall, the Norwegian government bought that. And they also bought the fact that, you know, if you're a baptized young witness, rather than face your judicial committee hearing, the parents will try to set you straight first before the Watchtower Judicial Committee hearing. Those three issues.
You know, as far as the speaking to people in the Kingdom Hall, if I remember right, I heard that when you speak to them, the only thing you can actually say to them is hi or welcome. You can't carry on a conversation. So if Norway bought that thinking, oh, you can speak to them, that's crazy, because if all they can do is say hi to you and that's it, and not carry on a casual conversation, then their shunning practice is still exactly the same. Okay, woo-hoo, so you can say hi to them, you know. But if they can't carry on conversations about the weather or their car or whatever they want to talk about, they can't do that because they're disfellowshipped.
Well, I mean, what it is, Donald. I think what you in fact, I like your style. I like your style. You're very inquisitive, and like most of the people listening into this program tonight, we're all inquisitive. But when you're trying to put pieces of a puzzle together, and you're saying why don't they fit, this is exactly what we're trying to do here tonight, Donald. You're asking questions and things aren't fitting right. This is very, very puzzling. Very puzzling. But thank you for your comments. Really enjoy your comments. My goodness, yeah. Go ahead. Yep.
Can I speak? This is Doreen.
Yes, Doreen.
Hello. Hi. I go by Dalriel Love on YouTube. If you guys know who I am, I feel you do.
Yeah, thank
I've
you.
talked to you guys before. Thank you. This is my first time joining. I had a friend who told me about you, and I was like, oh, I gotta listen. Great information. I wanted to talk about shunning. So, can you guys hear me? I think I keep hitting
Yeah,
my
we can
keypad.
hear. We can hear you fine,
Okay.
Doreen. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. And so my mom was shunning me for the past 11 years till recently, a month ago. And it was only because of the fact that my son had been telling her stuff and my brother. So she's the only Jehovah's Witness in our family. And she's the only witness, nobody else. We all left when we were younger. I was in and out, back and forth. At the end, I finally, it was because I was pretty much chemo, and then I got disfellowship. So yeah, for the 11 years, she shunned me, and I was really having a hard time with that, and I couldn't figure out how to cope with it. I started doing the counseling and so forth, and I kept going through therapists, and I just couldn't find what was going to help me deal with this and get past it. And I always thought, oh, I'm never going to be able to talk to this woman again. But luckily, it happened to where, my brother and my son had kept telling her stuff. My brother just was like, this is your only daughter. How can you do this to her? And then my son, kept throwing scriptures at her. Jesus wanted the sinners to come to him. How are you pushing her away? And he didn't want the meek. He wanted the sinners. And so finally, I think what it was, she has sent a card to my daughter, my younger daughter. And so I sent a message back. I text messaged her. So thank you. That was really sweet of you. I really appreciate that. Hey, can we have lunch? Just throwing the olive branch out, see if she would, go for it. A week went by. She didn't hear from me. I didn't hear from her. Then my aunt even said, hey, your mom was asking if your daughter received the card. And I said, yeah, actually she did. And that's interesting that she couldn't reach out to me. So I kind of already knew, okay, I know where this is going. She doesn't want to have no contact with me. She's still doing the shunning. So I guess my brother took her out to dinner one time, and my sister-in-law asked her, did you reply to her? And she said no. And she's like, oh my gosh, how can you not reply to your daughter? Like, she was like, I think that was the final nail in the coffin. So then she texted me back and she goes, you know what? Yeah, let's go to lunch. And I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. And I guess from hearing it from so many people around her, she just finally said, you know what, okay, I got to give in. And so so we went to lunch and we sat down, and the first thing out of her mouth was, I am so sorry for the way I've been treating you for the last, how many years. And I was just like, wow, what was it? Like, and still, like, it kind of like, I'm thinking back now, it's been like a month, but I still see that she's fighting it. She's fighting it because there's things she'll tell my son, like, well, I don't know, like, she doesn't want to spend too much time with me. But then I think that's her brain where she's hearing the witnesses telling her, or the elders, you can't be spending too much time with them, because I've been hanging out with her. I've taken her places. We've done stuff together, just me and her, because I'm trying to make up for that lost time. But now at this point, it's like, okay, should I have gone back to meaning having this relationship with her? Because right now she's starting to develop Alzheimer's. And so I feel like I'm so upset because of the fact that They took 11 years, good years, of my mom. I mean, the relationship I could have had with her. It just gets me so mad. I'm so frustrated. And this is why I wanted to come on, because I'm so upset with this organization. Because, you know, it's not only me, you know, it's just so sad because she didn't watch my daughter grow up. And it just really sucks.
Well, Doreen, I really, in fact, I feel your pain. It hurts. It really, really hurts. And what I'm thinking is there's going, in fact, I'll tell you what, within the last couple of years, I had numerous amounts of my relatives speak up to me that haven't spoken to me in 20 years. So I'm not sure whether, you know, this policy, this position that they've taken in Norway has kind of connected with the witnesses, and I can now talk to just fellowship ones, which will be a good thing. But I've had it happen to me, and I'm glad that you were able to connect with your mother and not really be too upset. I mean, it's very upsetting, but at least you were able to connect with her, and you didn't get upset or say things that would be hurtful. And that's
No,
what.
I didn't. And
Yeah.
I still kind of watch what I say because I don't want to trigger her to where she's going to start backpedaling again, you know? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want her to just cut her, you know, relationship with me because of something I said, or like if I quoted a scripture, or like I always have to catch myself. I'm like, oh, I don't want to say this because then it's going to have her just, oh, you know what? I think we're good.
Oh yeah, that's a good story you told, and I can tell why you'd be sad about it. But what I want us all of us people listening here tonight, I want you to rehearse, because this is going to happen. You are going to have relatives and friends that haven't talked to you for years. They're now going to speak up a little bit to you. So how do you handle that? I had a relative call me up out of the blue that I hasn't talked to for 20 years. And your first reaction would be angry. Well, what's the matter with you, you crazy person? You didn't even want to talk to me. But you got to be very careful. You got to go nice and slow, and show them some consideration. I mean, it's very hard for them to do that. I can't imagine calling a person up that I haven't talked to for 20 years and say, "Hi, how are you doing?" I mean, geez, that's hard. So you did the right thing, Doreen. Be very kind and very easygoing.
That's all I'm doing right now. Trying to wake her up. Eventually she is. I can see she's already now starting to lean because she's listening. I'm showing her so much. How do they say love bombing? I'm love bombing her right now, but it's real true love, because I love her. She's my mom.
Good. Well, she is your mom, and you only have one mother. So do the best you can, Doreen. Do the best you can. Well, thank you. Thank you for checking in with us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my call.
Well, I appreciate it.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah, let's go with, go ahead. Yeah.
I just want to say quickly, I'm sorry for the pain that the caller just went through. And sometimes we probably all get asked, you don't want to be a witness anymore. Why don't you just leave? Why do you have to sit there and quote unquote talk bad about them? But this is the reason why we have to do it. This is the reason why we're here, because the policies and practices of this organization cause pain in people's lives, sometimes even to the point where they have committed suicide, even to the point where they have to take antidepressants and go see a counselor and a therapist and all the like, all because of this damn organization. It's not a Christian religion. It's not Christian. This is a cult. And once you join it, they pull all of the love and the natural affection right out of you, even to the point where you won't talk to your own child. So this is why we're here. So Watchtower, if you're listening, you want to get rid of us so-called apostates, as you call us. We're not. We're actually good people. But if you want to get rid of us, get rid of this god-awful shunning practice. If you're not going to get rid of it, then we're going to continue to fight you with everything that we have until we die. Thanks.
Well, there you go, Stefan. Excellent comment.
Hey, Rick.
Yes, go ahead, John.
Rick?
Yes, John.
Yeah, I tell you something. My very strong sister called me about a year after my mom passed away, and she knew I'm no longer a believer.
I told her why. And I will say this, if you're an apostate and they know that you do not longer believe and they're a strong witness, they're not going to call you again. It's not going to happen. That's the difference. The ones who are disfellowship and still believers, they're PMOs, they'll talk to them. But if they know you no longer believe in the religion and they're a very strong witness, they're not going to call you again. Not going to happen unless they wake up. So I would say the ones who are weak witnesses spiritually, you might have a chance to get to them. But if they're a very strong witness like my sister, they're not going to call you again. You're not going to get another call. So that's the difference, because once they know that you no longer believe in the religion and you're apostate, they're not going to call you back. That's just a fact.
Well, I agree with you. John. I mean, how do you project the future? What do you think is going to happen in your life, John?
Well, I'm doing fine, because I no longer live in fantasy. You and I, John, Rick, and the rest of us, especially old guys like you and I, have been around a long time. We lived most of our lives in fantasy. Okay, even I was disfellowship for a very, very long time, and I still was a believer. I still was afraid of Armageddon. Well, I don't have that fear anymore. I'm free mentally of that religion, so I'm doing fine. And I can reassure myself that when I die, that I know I'm not going to be destroyed or be resurrected to see the paradise earth, because that doesn't exist. It's fantasy. Unfortunately, my ones like my sister, they still are in fantasy, and they think that they're going to die. When they die, they're going to see our mother again, my dad, my grandparents. Not going to happen. It doesn't exist. It's fantasy. So I'm reassured to the fact that when I die, that's going to be it. And so I no longer fear Armageddon, and I no longer have the hope of being in a paradise earth, or me hurrying, getting my life together and coming back to that organization to see my mom or my dad. It's not going to happen. So I'm free mentally of that fantasy that we were in for a long, long time. Unfortunately, the ones who are still in there, like my sister, who's been grew up in the organization, like I did, they're still in fantasy. They still believe in this nonsense. And unfortunately, that's the situation. And I hope those, like the caller, her mom called her. That I'm glad to hear that. Maybe her mom was a weak witness. I don't know. But if they know that you no longer believe in that nonsense, and they're a strong witness, you're not going to get another call. So therein lies the difference.
Well, there you go, John. Well, the excellent comment. I mean, you're always a very well-spoken man. We love to have you speak up here on the 6 screens. Thank you, John. Thank you.
Hello? Hey, Rick?
Let's go. We had one before you, Michael. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Yeah, hi. Can you hear me? It's Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron.
Yeah, so I wanted to just put my 2 cents on this whole Norway situation. But first, I would like to see if maybe, Rick, you could look into getting Fritz Springmeier back on the show, because I think it's been quite a while, unless he's come on in the last few weeks and I missed it.
He hopefully I'm going to try to get him on in 2 weeks if all goes well. He's going to be coming to the he's going to be coming to the convention, so hopefully I'm going to try to get him on in 2 weeks. Yep.
Yeah, that would be awesome, and I would really love to hear his take on this. But me knowing what I know about the world's power structure, if you think about the fact that there are 13 very powerful families, many people don't even know their names, but some of them include the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Morgans, the Bilderbergs, etc. If you take the time to do the research into these 13 powerful families, what you'll probably more than likely find, or what you're going to find, is that they control the world's media, they control the world's governments, they control the world's courts, They control everything. These families run the world. They are above the law. And I'm of the opinion that organizations like Watchtower are under their umbrella in some fashion. I don't know exactly what part of the umbrella, like what level they're on, but I think that organizations like this and other cults that are out there, and I might even go so far to say as all organized religion, but I don't want to quite say that, are meant to divide the people, to keep the people divided, especially in its current form today. So I think that, and that's another reason why I think that Watchtower, in some fashion, will be around for a long time to come, because divide and conquer is the number one mechanism that's been used since time immemorial to keep people divided. So this whole thing to me was kabuki theater from the start. I didn't think the government had any power to stop Watchtower. So that's my comment.
Well, it's a good comment, Aaron. But I'll tell you, you're a sharp guy. I've always listened to your comments. You do good, but I'm just thinking here. No, you're right with religion. So sometimes I feel too that they do create more problems than it's worth. It's just too much at times. But when you get a religion that is so aberrant that it becomes such a legalistic cult, then people are going to look at it differently. This organization, even as we mentioned earlier, there's Elder Appreciation Day. They can appreciate elders and honor elders, but they can't honor their mother and father. They can't honor someone's birthday. People are seeing through this. Other religions are a lot sharper. I mean, really, I mean, look at the Catholic Church, for example. The Watchtower would love to be like them, that they can pull things off on people, and people don't even notice it. But people in the religion of Jehovah's Witnesses, they're beginning to notice it. They're bad. They're very bad at covering up stupidity. There's feeble-mindedness. But well, thank you for your comments, Aaron. Aaron, good job. Thank you.
Rick, hello.
Go ahead. You're on with it. Go ahead, sister.
Oh, hi, that's Donnie here. Rick, all these lies that they said in court, I mean, they were terrible lies. They were basically saying, "Oh no, we don't shun anyone. It's just the same. We still get on," and it was just terrible, wasn't it? The lies. But anyway, I was thinking 6 years ago, there was a morning worship about 6 years ago. There was a morning worship, and the brother, I'm not sure who it was now, but I think it was governing body. He was talking about speaking the truth, and he said we don't have to tell the truth to those who don't merit it. Well, I thought, what a weird statement to make, and then I thought, oh, they've obviously been busy, telling loads of lies somewhere, and they want to cover themselves in case it all comes out in the brotherhood. So it's just weird, isn't it, how they're always one step ahead. All these lies, and there's a good excuse for it now. We don't have to tell the truth to those who don't merit it. It's absolutely shocking, really.
Well, Donnie, you're absolutely right. It is a little shocking. It's really shocking, but that's their war strategy. They don't have to tell the truth. In other words, they don't have to tell the truth to somebody that doesn't deserve to know the truth. So if they're being questioned, whether it's by the Norwegian government or whether it's by anybody, they have the position, or they feel they have the right to lie. If it's not furthering kingdom interest, if it's not furthering the Watchtower organization, then they can lie. That's their policy. It's disgusting. It's totally disgusting.
Which is why they all think that is their reputation, isn't it?
Yeah.
They throw the under the bus.
Yeah.
And they just want to look squeaky clean. Anyway, thank you very much, Rick. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Rick, this is Michael.
Yeah.
I heard John's comment about they won't pay attention to you if you tell them that you don't believe in them. And I think he's right 99% of the time. But I did want to mention that every once in a while that you come across the person that will accept you as you are. in the witness faith. And I have that with my friend. I've talked about him several times. We've been friends for over 55 years. He was a professional sports player. We went through a lot of stuff together. And I just talked to him, and I said, Mark, I shouldn't mention his name, I'm sorry. I said I was worried that because you knew I didn't believe anymore, that you wouldn't talk to me again. And he said, Michael, I'm going to talk to you. That's not going to come into play. And he's an elder, okay? And he served at Bethel. And he said that that's not going to come into play for me unless you start to badmouth the organization and call it a cult and things like that. Then I'd have no need to. That would destroy my faith, and I don't want to do that. But as long as you're respectful, I'm respectful to you. We can talk, and we talk about scripture too. And I find that for Diane, the lady, I find that the best thing to do is just to ask a few questions about the scriptures that pretend like you don't understand. To say, I always say, Mark, I've always had trouble understanding why Jesus called himself the Alpha and the Omega there in Revelation 1. Could you explain it? How did you get to the 1914 date where Jesus came in 1914? How did you do that in the Bible? Just little questions like that. It might not turn somebody right away, Rick, but it plants a seed. It plants a seed to get them thinking, and hopefully in the right direction. And maybe we're not going to do anything right away, but somewhere, someplace, God will take over and put that in the heart of the man or the woman, and things will change. God calls us all to come to Him. So I just encourage people to do that.
Well, amen to that, Michael. Well, thank you for suggesting that. Well, you're on 6 screens, JW World News. We want to really let everyone know we're appreciative of you coming on tonight. You might be seeing our video looks a little bit different today. We have a different camera setting. We did have some technical issues earlier. We had to abort the YouTube video we were doing live. I think it's still going to be up on YouTube, but we had to start another one, so it kind of cut down. But boy, I'll tell you what, we're still getting a lot of people coming in. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for understanding the technical issues that we had here tonight. I just wanted to bring it up. I mean, we talked about the big news event this week. We talked about the Norwegian government bending to the dictates of the Watchtower on how they're going to go along, and they're going to let the Watchtower now be a recognized religion in Norway. They're going to continue giving them money under the charitable arrangement program in that country. And it's appalling, but I don't want you to feel too disgusted about all of it. We had Fran call in earlier, and it feels like a defeat. It really feels like it's a defeat. It feels like we lost, but it's not. It's really not as bad as we're thinking. And I'm trying to put a positive spin on it. The fact that the policy, the trial, the appeal by the Watchtower, this was all in the public. And now publicly it's challenged. That is, people are now seeing what the Watchtower is really, really like. And even though the Jehovah's Witness organization says that they're treating people humanely, the real world is catching up on them. They don't see it that way. The Norwegian government did, but we are now seeing that Watchtower has at least had to change their position on disfellowshipping. And as we said earlier, even though they took the term disfellowship and call it removed, I mean, the Norwegian government shouldn't have bought that. It's still the same thing. But the thing that might have changed a little bit here, and even though I don't think Norway should have changed their position, what might have changed here is, the Watchtower said that, well, people can, come to the meetings now, and they're not going to be shunned, and we can talk to them. Well, but you know what that's like. It's really not going to make that big of a difference. We can all see through the Watchtower, right? And the other thing is, they're saying to parents that, we're not going to really just fellowship your young child, say 16, 17, 18 years old, because they don't want to be a witness. We'll let you handle it. We're not going to run it through the judicial committee. So, I mean, that kind of got Norway thinking, okay, fine, we'll buy it. We'll let you be a religion again. So let's not look at it as totally bad. Let's look at it that the world is now catching up on who the Jehovah's Witnesses are. So I'm not going to say it's a huge win for us apostates, but let's celebrate that at least the Watchtower has changed its policies. Okay, so what we'll do now, unless anyone has a closing comment, I'm going to go to the duck game. We're going to give away some prizes here tonight. I hope some people can chime in and win the prizes. So why don't we go to that right now? Unless someone has something to say, go ahead right now before we move on. Okay, so we do have the duck game. Now listen, we're going to change a little bit. We're not going to ask questions tonight. What I want you to do, as I said at the outset of the program, if you can, now there's been many books written about Jehovah's Witnesses, about the Watchtower. And if someone would like to come on and give a little review, whether it's the books that I sent out to you or whether it's books you have read on your own, if someone would like to come on and give a little review on it, say under 2 minutes, you at least get 1 point. And if we decide that you had the best book review, you're going to get 3 points. So is there anyone out there that would like to give a little report on a book they read about Jehovah's Witnesses? Is there anyone like to speak up a little bit and give us a little book review? If you would, go ahead, hit *6. Anyone like to do that? Have you read a book? Have you, there's a number of books written about Jehovah's Witnesses. So let's try 714. I think that's you, Nadine.
Oh, I was going to talk about when you asked.
I think that's you, Nadine.
I know. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yeah.
Okay. I was on, but I'm not going to give that report. I'm waiting to get the color book, and I'm going to do a report on that. But I wanted to answer the other question that you're going to have about what we disliked about the organization.
All right. In fact, I'll do this. I'm going to let you speak for under 2 minutes, okay? For under 2 minutes. I want you to give me a little synopsis, your little ideas of what you feel about the Watchtower. So go ahead, Nadine. You're on stage with us.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about how the elders were, some elders were very inappropriate, and some situations that actually happened to me when I was very young, 14, 15, 16. There was an elder in the congregation, and he actually conducted the book study at my mom's house. And he would always want to pick me up to go out in service with him. And he was like 27, and he was married. And so my mom's like, go ahead, go with him. He's an elder. And so he would pick me up, and it would just be the two of us. And I felt really uncomfortable. I did not like it. And we would just go on return visits. And he didn't try anything, but it was just the ick factor of the whole thing. And then, one night I didn't go to the book study, and he came into my bedroom, and he wanted to know why I wasn't out at the book study. And I was like 16 years old at that point. And then with my very best friend in the congregation, now this elder used to be the photographer of the congregation. He would take wedding photos, and so he would want to take pictures of the young girls in the congregation. And my good friend, he would pick her up at her house, and he took her down to the railroad tracks, and he would have her model, and he would take pictures of her. And I've seen those pictures, and he must have told her how to pose and everything. And I was talking with actually my friend's daughter about this situation just the other day, and she's seen the pictures and how inappropriate they were for an elder to be doing that. And he did take pictures of me, but it was at the Kingdom Hall. But it was just amazing. Now that I'm older, I think back on it, and it was just how he got away with all that. And everybody just accepted it like it was okay because he was the photographer in the congregation. You know, he took pictures of people's weddings. And so he got away with a lot. And he was married. And I don't know. And his wife was always very cold to me. And I wonder if she knew that he would pick me up to go out in service. I don't know. And it always made me feel very uncomfortable. So that's my story.
Well, Nadine, thank you for sharing that story. Now that is very scary. That's very scary. This guy obviously was thinking a lot about you and kind of going through the motions, even though he didn't do anything. It still was oddball behavior. And you got me thinking. That actually happened to a daughter of mine. The same thing. It's got me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, actually, my daughter. We were in Florida, living at the time, and she was 18 years, 17 years old, I believe. And so this brother in the Kingdom Hall, he wanted to take pictures of her. Now, I was still a full-fledged witness. And he says, well, your daughter's so pretty, Rick. Would you mind if I took pictures? But, your mind isn't going in that direction. I just figured, well, that's nice. He wants to do that. But, he was spending a little more time and, a little more effort putting into pictures of my daughter. I'm saying this is strange. But, some of these perverted people, they use all kinds of different techniques to attract, the opposite sex. And I'm sure that was going on with you. And now you got me thinking that was going on with my daughter too,
Right. And my friend, she was always my best friend growing up. And he was, did pick her up and took pictures of her. Now, he never took me down to the railroad tracks, thank God. But he did her. And the pictures were like model pictures. Like he must have told her how to pose, like one was where she's standing behind him, and then she's looking over her shoulder, like she has her hands on her waist, and then she's looking over her shoulder. And then her daughter and I were talking about it, and what he was probably doing was like looking at those pictures. Like he had those pictures, like he gave the pictures away, but, to her, but he had a copy too.
Yeah.
And he was probably looking at those pictures. He did take pictures of me, but they were at the Kingdom Hall. So they were more innocent type pictures. But those other pictures, those were really something else. I'm telling you, where she's wearing jeans and you can, she's modeling and she's putting her hands on, and she's like 15.
Yeah. Well, they had kind of a sexual innuendo, but no, no, really, I got you with that. Geez, well, I'm glad that you came out of it pretty unscathed, but it could have been worse.
Well,
yeah.
It really bothered me when he came into my bedroom when I was 16, and I'm like, he just opened my door, and I wasn't feeling well that night, and I was, climbing into bed, and he's like, he shocked me, and I could not believe that he had the nerve to walk to he was the book study conductor, And this was before the book study, and he just walked right into my room.
No, that's totally inappropriate. Well, I'll tell you what, for sharing that story tonight, you got 3 points. Take 3 points, okay? Thank you.
Okay, and as soon as I get that color book,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go through that book.
Well,
I wanna see what
that
color-
book's on the way. You'll get it this week, and then once you tell us about, okay?
All right.
Thank you.
I'll
Thank
do a
you.
report on that.
Well, thank you, Nadine. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So, do we have someone else that wants to talk about a book? You want to get some points? You can keep the points, win some prizes.
Yeah, I might have a something I can mention really quick, but the book that I'm reading is I'm not all the way through it. So does that count?
Oh yeah, no, just tell us what you know so far, Aaron. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, this book is by Gary Alt. A-L-T is how you spell his last name. And the book is called Bethel Days. And Days is spelled D-A-Z-E. And I actually met Gary. He kind of lives sort of near me. So we met at a local venue one day, and he gave me a copy of his book. And there's a couple of things in here that are really interesting. Like he talks about a time when he was young in the chapter about his first circuit overseer visit. It was from Samuel Hurd before he became a governing body member, and he gave basically some scientific information from the platform that wasn't actually scientific about women's brains in relation to men's brains. So in the paragraph on page 25, he says what the actual science is. Actual scientific studies have demonstrated that women's brains are in fact about 11% smaller than men's in proportion to body size. And then that part is in italics. And then it says that italicized clause was not included in Hurd's argument. So it just kind of goes to show how Watchtower distorts the truth and, puts out unscientific facts. And the other thing that kind of stood out to me was when he was later on, Gary was in Bethel, and Albert Schroeder, I guess, had mentioned at the table how he has a son in Bethel, and I guess, well, on page 50, Gary said he asked him, "Are you kidding?" And then Schroeder says he put down his fork, got very serious, and said, "Now, why would I joke about a thing like that?" And then it says, Gary says he felt as if he had committed a great social faux pas. He felt like a jerk. And essentially what it came down to was that Schroeder, he didn't, Gary said he was sorry. Like he stuttered and said, I'm sorry. And then Schroeder basically brushed it off. He didn't give him an empathetic pat on the shoulder or anything. And he just said, "It's okay." And then he said that was followed by a casual anecdote about how a governing body member can have a son at Bethel, and just a clear message of how not to be stupid in his presence. So I like the book, and I want to finish reading it, but that's all I got.
Well, thank you. Well, we'll give you a couple of points for that at least. In fact, I'm going to give 3 points for that, Aaron. Okay? Thank you. In fact, we had Gary Alt on the program too before, so that was good. He's a good man. He's a very good man, and then thank you for sharing that with us. All right, let's go to one more. And anyone else want to give a little story, a little synopsis of their trek in the Watchtower? Anyone want to give some thoughts on that? You're on with us right now. Go ahead. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. That might end the program tonight. I'm not sure if Eric's coming on tonight or not. I don't see him in the queue. Let me just check something. Yeah, once in a while we do have some issues with that. But let me take a look over here and see. No, I don't see Eric on with us. Eric, if you're out there listening, give me a call and let me know what you think. Let me just see what's happening here. All right. Okay. No, we don't see Eric. Well, I want to tell you, friends, we have had a good, rockin' awesome night here at the Six Screens. I know a lot of you are disappointed over the Norwegian conclusion. The Watchtower,
Hello, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, this is Jesse in Yuma.
Yeah, Jesse, what do you think?
Hey, I know you're going to end right now, but I didn't mean to end in a bad note, but I wanted to ask you a question of something me and Gilbert have been fighting about lately. We've been debating about the memorial for remembering Jesus' death. That's what the Watchtower is calling it, remembering Jesus' death. And we feel that they're obsessed with the death of Jesus Christ. They're not in communion, or they're not trying to remember Jesus, all the things he did. They're really happy about his death. And from that angle, we're analyzing the witnesses. Have you ever thought of it that way, that they're obsessed with Jesus' death, like while the cat's away, the mice will play?
Well, I mean, we related it to the Black Mass in Satanism.
Yes.
I mean, you know that. I mean, everybody knows that. But as far as being obsessed with Jesus' death, that's interesting to say that. I never heard that before. But well,
Because every church you go, they call it communion, they call it mass. It's a happy occasion, or you celebrate Easter, the resurrection. But the Jehovah's Witnesses, flat out right there, they tell you right there in your face, they're going to remember Jesus' death. And I don't see that nowhere else in Christianity, that just focuses on Jesus' death, like his departure. They focus on Jesus being alive. They focus on all the things that Jesus taught, all of his teachings. But the Jehovah's Witnesses zero in on that one thing, death. So
I think you have a good point, Jesse, because they don't talk about the road to Emmaus or his resurrection. And they had a Watchtower one year that had the art department did a great job with the beautiful women that were at the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then this talked about the resurrection, and it was the only time in my lifetime that they ever had a cover or an article that really talked about the resurrection. And my dad told me that was his favorite part of the Bible. And it looked like they were getting into first century Christians and how the theater and how their life was and everything. And then all that stopped. And
well, that's been on our brain. That's been on our brain. I just wanted to throw that out there for consumption. I could be so wrong. And I don't think I know everything. But that's what I noticed, about when I talk to my Christian friends or people out in the street, Catholics, Protestants, and I noticed that difference about us. Why is our religion
I think you're spot on, because they don't have a resurrection.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to throw that out there. I hope somebody can answer that question.
Well, you got me thinking, Jesse, because I mean, when I was a witness, they would always say that, well, Jesus' death is way more important than his birth. I mean, they really emphasize that. And of course, they would never really celebrate his birth, but they would celebrate his death. It's kind of a dark side there. But thank you, Jesse, for bringing that up. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. All right. Yeah, go ahead. Yep, you're on with us.
Yeah. I just have a question, Brother Fannin. Have you heard from Barbara Anderson?
Barbara Anderson, yeah. In fact, Barbara Anderson will be back on with us. Well, she would have came on tonight, but of course, her husband died. I think you know that, right, Kim? Her husband died. Her husband died about 3 weeks ago, and also she had some tornado warnings tonight, so she had to evacuate. Well, we got some hold up. We got some people. Hold on one second. We got a lot of background noise going on there, but Barbara Anderson she had tornado warnings tonight. She couldn't come on. Of course, her husband died. She had the flu, but she should be back on with us in 2 weeks. Yeah. Thank you, Kim. All right, friends, I have to tell you, when you call in, here's what you do. You hit *6 to unmute yourself. Then when you're done talking, hit *6 again. Man, that would make my job so easy. It would make my job so easy. For 20 years, I've been saying it. If you could all just follow that rule, it would be so much easier for me here at the 6 Screens. All right, I don't believe that Eric is coming on here tonight. I did send him the information. Sometimes we do have an issue with this. Let me just see if he's on. I don't see him. Okay, no, there he is. Okay.
But he
Okay.
wrote in the chat, I'm here, and also there is someone who is calling him right now to check out. So
Okay.
I think he will be on.
All right, we do see him on here now, so that's good. So we will go to Eric's program here momentarily. But I want to thank everyone for coming into the 6 Greens tonight. Thank you very much for wanting to come in, and especially those that spoke up and talked. That's very, very important. That gets a lot of people's interest. So thank you for doing that. I just gotta see who's making all this noise in the background here. You gotta keep your phone lines muted. You really do. If you could do that for me, it would be so good. But anyways, we got Eric coming on here next, so we'll stay tuned for that. So stay on this channel, stay on our radio telephone network, and we'll bring Eric on here very, very shortly. Let me just go back to where I was right here. So I want to thank everyone for coming into 6 Screens JW World News tonight. There'll be no 6 Screens Sunday tomorrow. It'll be next Sunday afternoon, beginning at 1 o'clock. So I wish you guys have a good weekend. I want you all to stand tall, keep waving the flag of victory. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower. By all means, turn off the new light. Let's go to Eric. Stay on this channel, please. Thank you for listening in tonight. All right. So let's do